All right. Well, SAG Awards just wrapped up here just a few moments ago, and yeah, I guess there's a few things to talk about here. Now, unless we have a very unless we have a La La Land situation here, everything I'm reading here is the awards are final; they're done. We've got Oppenheimer ended up taking three of its five with supporting actor, lead actor, and ensemble. Otherwise, everyone else just had the one award that they won. Um, anyway, so I guess the biggest headline we can take out of this: Lily Gladstone is alive and well in the Best Actress race. Now it is a race. It has been confirmed as a race. It's going to be her versus Emma Stone here in the next 2 weeks before we get the final award there, of course. So, or actually, no, sorry. When I said Oppenheimer took three of its five, it's three of its four. It only has four nominations. Excuse me. The only one it didn't win then was Emily Blunt. So in that case, yeah. So we'll get to Cillian here in a minute. But with Lily, man, that does make it interesting. And when we look at this particular category, Best Actress at SAG, they've been pretty correct. They've missed a couple times here in the last few years. Viola Davis won here when Frances McDormand ended up winning in 2021, or technically for the films of 2020, so I'm going to refer to it that way. Glenn Close lost the Oscar a couple years before that, but she won here at SAG. And then before that, you have to go back to Viola Davis again for The Help. She won there when Meryl Streep went on to win. So they've had a pretty good track record here in the last decade plus. With only those three misses there. So they've done pretty well being predictive, including the turn last year, kind of late, when Michelle Yeoh won at SAG and then repeated at the Oscars, even though she lost everywhere except the Globes for her separate comedy category. Because it was Cate Blanchett that was the big threat last year for Tar, and she was in the drama category at the Globes. So, yeah, this one win, she's got also a win at the Globes for drama. Emma has won basically everywhere else. Lily was not nominated by the Brits at BAFTA, so I don't know if that generally means that all international support for her is going to be a little more limited. Could be, I'm not sure. I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon did all right overseas at the box office and stuff, and it's, kind of mixed reception there at BAFTA. It still ended up with the film nomination, even if Leo missed, even if Scorsese missed, even if the screenplay missed and Lily missed as well. It was still respected enough they put it in for best film. So yeah, it had a really, really strange performance over there. De Niro got in and stuff, but yeah, the lead actors and the director were nowhere to be seen. Very strange, but and Poor Things, I think, again, internationally has done very, very well. We're probably going to end up seeing 67% plus, so in other words, 2/3 of its total box office performance come from overseas markets outside of the domestic U.S. So in that corner, you could mark up, okay, Emma Stone, who also won at BAFTA, even though Lily was not nominated, you kind of have to chuck that up too. So is this a case, kind of similar to, we kind of mentioned the Viola Davis year when Frances McDormand did win at BAFTA, ended up winning at the Oscars. And then, actually, another SAG winner that night, Chadwick Boseman, posthumously won, of course, also for Ma Rainey's. And it was Anthony Hopkins who won at BAFTA, and Anthony ended up repeating at the Oscars. That being said, I don't know if it's totally comparable. Well, because number one, Ma Rainey's winning the two at SAG was more a thing of SAG really liked that movie. It was also up for Ensemble. The Father was not. Anthony Hopkins being British from Wales and stuff. Obviously, that helped him at BAFTA and everything. And then when we looked at the Oscar performance, it was Ma Rainey's didn't make it in for Best Picture. Kind of disappointed Oscars morning. It didn't get a lot of the stuff that we thought it could. And The Father, on the other hand, overperformed. It got into film editing. It got into production design. A couple of the categories we weren't really expecting. Now, when it comes to the Oscars, Killers pretty much got everything we thought it would. Some people smarter than me, were correct in not predicting Leo to get in. I kept him, and that was wrong. I took it out for screenplay, so it's missing in screenplay, which shows that, it's not totally supported by all the branches. And it is the general popular, Academy, of course, that finally votes on it. So I don't know if that necessarily, again, points to an advantage for Emma Stone, because her film overall, again, outside of maybe visual effects, Willem Dafoe, and then that's just about it, maybe the sound category. Otherwise, it didn't really have a lot of places where it could have shown up where it didn't. Versus Killers, okay, Leo could have gotten in. The script could have gotten in. I think it was shortlisted for makeup, and I don't think it got in for makeup, did it? I gotta look at the list again, but I don't think it got in for makeup. I'm not seeing it here, no. So, I mean, and that's kind of getting down to some smaller details there. I don't know if that's necessarily pointing to that being, the defining factor. I don't know if that's exactly what we need to point to say, no, it's Emma's to lose still at the Oscars. It just makes it really interesting, and it makes me think, and it's like, well, I don't know. And I'll still, like I said, I'll still need to watch the acceptance speeches. I'm sure they'll be on YouTube here shortly. I haven't checked yet. I just kind of wanted to just kind of run through them once they're all online, so we'll go to that. So we've got Suspense and Best Actress. Best Actor, though, Cillian won here. Congrats. I think he's got the Oscar. I think he's got it now. I looked up, by the way, when you win the Globe, BAFTA, and SAG, and it's not only in this category, just in general, when you win those three, you win the Oscar. The exception, one exception, Russell Crowe for A Beautiful Mind. And even that one, we can say there's some extenuating circumstances that happened there. Number one, that year at the Oscars, there was a delay. The Oscars were not until April. I forget what the reasoning was. I don't think it was around 9/11 stuff, but it was that year, 2001, films from 2001. But it was like everything else was happening early, and then there was a break, and then here comes the Oscars, and a few twists and turns happened in the final voting, and it ended up being Denzel that won over Russell Crowe. That was one thing. And number two, allegedly, I wasn't there. I've only heard this secondhand. I've only heard stories. There is a story about Russell Crowe getting angry somewhere around the BAFTAs. I don't know if that's during the ceremony or while doing campaigning for the film. Supposedly he threw a phone. I don't know if, again, I wasn't there. Wasn't sure if it was a rotary phone or one of those old cellular phones, the ones that are like a fucking brick, so they actually will really hurt if you throw them at someone. Back in those days, those kind of cellular phones. I don't know. Supposedly that happened, and there was some bad press after that. And Russell, you kind of got the sense from his earlier work and stuff. Think of his character from LA Confidential, for example. Yeah, this could be a guy that lets off some steam once in a while and can get a little pissed. And that was, I guess, allegedly an event that happened. So, and how much of that impacted the Oscar voting, I'm not sure. But it had to have affected it somewhat, because A Beautiful Mind ended up winning Supporting Actress, Adapted Screenplay, Director, and Film at the Oscars. And Russell really probably should have gone along for the ride, but they liked Denzel better. Or, again, some of those other circumstances happened. So, there's only been one time when you win Globe, BAFTA, and SAG that you don't repeat at the Oscars. That's Russell Crowe. Otherwise, I mean, there's been other circumstances, there's been like some close ones. I just looked this up here a few minutes ago, but like Christopher Walken for Catch Me If You Can won at, I think it was everywhere except the Globes, and it ended up being Chris Cooper who won at the Globes and then repeated at the Oscars. But Walken won at BAFTA and SAG, if I looked at it right. But so I was like, ooh, that might be one, but it wasn't. And I think there was one or two other close calls like that. Anyways, but I guess that's probably the way it's going to go. I was kind of holding out some hope for Giamatti to win. He's been he did win the Globe and he won at Critics' Choice, but that's Now you got the kind of trifecta there, and it's going to be really, really mathematically nearly impossible to repeat that. And everything. But you could still argue, look, The Holdover still ended up with, the screenplay nod, and, even though it missed on director, it got a bunch of, it got virtually everything else it needed with editing and everything. So there's still a small chance of him doing it, but yeah, I just think you got to switch to Cillian now if you're like me and you had Giamatti up to tonight. Yeah, go ahead and switch. Cillian's got it. In the supporting categories, yes, Robert Downey Jr. and Divine Joy Randolph, rubber stamp them, they're done. Those categories are over. They have literally won everywhere, and no signs of weakening so far. And then Oppenheimer winning for cast, that just further solidifies that there isn't really a lot of suspense in Best Picture. Everyone seems to be really gathering around Oppenheimer as, it's not only the Best Director winner this year, because Chris Nolan has that category under lock and key, but Oppenheimer is very likely to repeat. It's, again, won every major film category and stuff at the televised awards and everything, winning at DGA. I don't predict it's going to repeat at WGA. They'll probably go, after the fact, they'll go with American Fiction. American Fiction will probably end up winning that screenplay prize as well at the Oscars. Up to this point, Oppenheimer's also won a couple things at a few of the guilds. It didn't win like the Visual Effects Guild, like myself and a few others thought it might. But it's really not really shown again at least in those top categories. It hasn't shown a lot of weakness. So it seems like we're not looking at a split year here for director and film. So there you go. And then one of the things, of course, is the stunt ensemble category. I had John Wick, and I was very convinced, and fuck me, they went with Mission Impossible. And it was the one I had in second place, at least. I thought it was, it's still in the hunt for sure. And as I recall, no, actually, I thought the earlier Mission Impossible had won, but both Rogue Nation and Fallout, since this category's been introduced, both of those lost their respective years. You had Mad Max win in 2015, which I think everyone had that year. And then Black Panther won in 2018. I can't remember who I had that year. Did I might have had, because Avengers Infinity War was also nominated, but I might have gone Black Panther. I can't remember. I think I did go Black. I didn't have it, because Black Panther then won for Film Ensemble at SAG that year. And, and that one was one I did not have that predicted. I remember I was a little surprised by that, and I kind of, maybe unfairly that night, I remember I criticized Chadwick because he didn't really have a great acceptance speech. But I'm, again, in retrospect, not only just because of his passing, but it's like also like, dude, you weren't expected to win. It's like you kind of just have to go with the flow in those moments and just kind of whatever comes out of your mouth comes out of your mouth. It would be the same circumstances what happened with the producers of Moonlight when they won after 2/3 of the producers for La La Land had given their acceptance speeches and stuff for Best Picture. All of a sudden, the last one was like, we lost, by the way, and everybody's just like, because it's fun to relive that moment because it's like you kind of you get the sense of like there's some murmurs in the crowd. It's like right before that third producer goes, it's like wait, something's wrong here. What's going on? And then he said we lost, and I was like, what? I wish I'd been recording. I think that year was one of the last years I did the live reactions. I think I did it the following year too, but I remember I turned off my camera and stopped recording my live reaction because I was like, hey, yeah, it was La La Land. Yep, we got it right. And it was like, what was it, 3 minutes almost, like a 3-minute delay before they finally got it out that it was, nope, it had lost. Anyways, but I thought I had predicted, maybe now in retrospect, I'll have to look back and see what I had, but I thought I had Black Panther for stunt ensemble, because I'm like, well, it's not going to win for ensemble, and then it won for ensemble, but yeah. And I can't remember who I had predicted that year to win. Let's see. Stars Born, Crazy Rich Asians, Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Klansman, Black Panther were the nominees. Did I go Bohemian? No. I think I had A Star Is Born. I can't even remember what the hell I had that year. That was kind of a weird year because that was the Green Book year too, so that was not up for ensemble. All right. I guess I don't really have much else to say. Best Actress. Let's just see where people are as far as when we get like reports from Variety, Gold Derby. I think there's one or two other. Deadline will sometimes report some secret ballot, voting and stuff. Like the Oscar voter actually like kind of not disclose their name obviously, but they'll disclose, hey, I voted for this. And stuff like that. I'll have to wait and see for a couple of those reports start coming out here because Oscar voting is underway. Started I think earlier this week, so it's underway. And I just got to see. Okay, are they in that category? Are they leaning one way or the other? And all that. Seems weird because I remember the year Anthony Hopkins won. I'd read a bunch of them that year, like secret ballots and stuff. And I think I'm just going to throw a number out because I can't remember how many I actually read. But let's say, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 to 25 that I saw, over half of them were for Chadwick Boseman in Best Actor. But it was still, and I felt it in my gut. I'm like, I'm going Anthony Hopkins, and he ended up winning. So that's one of my better calls, I think, in the last few years. But that being said, I don't know if that's going to lean me one way or the other. I don't know if I'm going to switch to... If they all say Lily Gladstone, then maybe, but that would be really rare. Because, even that year, for Anthony Hopkins, it felt like Nomadland was on the right track for Best Picture, and yet, like, less than 2/3 of them were for Nomadland. A bunch of them that I read, there was like a couple that's had Trial of Chicago 7, number 1. A few of them had... God, what else was even nominated? Minari, I think I saw as number 1 on just a couple of them. Yeah, so it's like the Oscar voters are just as diverse as anyone else off the street, It's they like what they like, and an individual voter who, you might feel like, oh, the entire Academy, like this year, for example, the entire Academy's voting for Robert Downey Jr., the entire Academy's voting for Divine Joy Randolph. No, when you get those secret ballots, you'll see, okay, probably, again, close to 2/3 of them are going to have those two names on there, or one of the two, but there's going to be a bunch that say, I'm voting for Robert De Niro, or this one's I'm voting for Danielle Brooks, or this one, I really liked both the performances, blah, 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 but my votes are for Emily Blunt and for, I don't know, who else was even nominated? Ryan Gosling, for example. So, you never know. You just never know what they're thinking and what their thought process is to what they do. But that being said, yeah, that's going to be the teeter-totter, I think, of the major acting categories. The other three, I feel, again, they're pretty locked up, with Cillian now, I think, amongst the more locked up ones. Because, again, just mathematically, and when you go back through the history of that trifecta, just the one example, just the one. So there you go. Yeah, that's all I got for now. We'll be back. Boy, when do we want to come back and look at stuff? Maybe, I was going to say, look, what's our schedule like here? What's left for some of our precursors, like some of the Guild Awards and stuff? Hold on, let's look here. Got to go to the right page here that shows what's still out there. We still got, the Independent Spirit Awards. I don't know how helpful they're going to be this year, because obviously Oppenheimer wasn't eligible in a lot of the categories. And you don't have, like, Lily Gladstone's not up for lead actress, or for lead performance, sorry. I forgot they do gender neutral here. Yeah, of the ones that are up for lead performance, you've got, like, Jeffrey Wright is nominated, and he's the only one in lead. And in supporting, you do have a few more. You've got Divine, you got Sterling K. Brown, and I think just those two. Sorry. I thought I saw one other name. Charles Melton I saw, but I was like, oh, wait, no, he didn't get in. He didn't get in. So, yeah, they're not really going to lean us in any particular direction. We got the Cinematographers Guild. We've got at least one of the both the sound guilds still have to go. ACETI will go before the Oscars, and that's it. Just those. PGA. Yeah, PGA's tomorrow, by the way. Oppenheimer. I forgot. Yeah, I needed to talk about that. And just talking about PGA really quick here. I really don't know, like, if anyone was going to upset Oppenheimer at PGA here tomorrow. I don't know if there's a clear, obvious choice. I feel like we're in that same scenario as Nomadland, when it's like, okay, well, which one are you going to argue has the most momentum to take it down? And it's like, well, Chicago 7, but Chicago 7 wasn't very consistent through the year, had lost a few major categories and stuff, and was losing all its nominations at a few places, as I recall. It did win SAG Ensemble, but yeah, I remember that was kind of a tricky one. A lot of us it was kind of a mix. It was like either Ma Rainey's, Minari. I had Minari for a while there that year, but then I was like, no, Chicago 7. And then, yeah, Chicago 7 ended up winning. But it's like, okay, Poor Things, I don't really have a lot of momentum behind that one, I don't sense. Killers of the Flower Moon, if anything, again, its only win is going to be Lily Gladstone. Barbie, maybe. I mean, it's a popular movie. It did outperform Oppenheimer at the box office, at least. But I just don't know, I think there's still enough people out there, as it's shown with it missing, like, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Editing and stuff. It's like there's at least a few people in enough of those branches that didn't care for the movie enough. They didn't vote it high enough on their rankings to get it in. So I'm not sure if there's enough, doom and gloom behind Oppenheimer, where again it's going to be one of these are going to be formidable enough to take it down. Holdovers, yeah, it's a cute movie, comedy and stuff, and has that good sentimental feel to it through part of it at least. I think if it was on the track of something like Green Book, I don't know. I think we'd need, which is weird because if we look at it at this point in the season, we really haven't seen enough yet to show us that the Holdovers is too far behind Green Book. Now, it is behind Green Book in this way. Green Book won at the Globes. It won Supporting Actor, it won Best Screenplay, and it won Best Motion Picture Comedy Musical. Holdovers wasn't even nominated for Screenplay, so that's out. It did win in a supporting category and a lead category for its comedy, but it didn't win film comedy, so it's behind in that way. I believe at Critics' Choice, Green Book again only got the one acting win for Mahershala. It lost Screenplay. God, I can't even think if it was... it wasn't competitive in the other categories, really. So, at Critics' Choice, though, it did get the two acting wins, so that's okay. That's, maybe it, gets a point back there. But after that, what was it? Green Book did win PGA, did it not? Or am I dreaming that? What the hell? I can't remember now. Did it win PGA? I can't remember who won that year. I gotta go back here. I thought it did. Yeah, it did. It did. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, when we look here, I mean, and PGA hasn't been the best predictor either. It did get Coda right. It got Everything Everywhere All at Once right. It got Nomadland right. But 1917, wrong. La La Land, wrong. The Big Short, wrong. Technically a tie for 12 Years a Slave and Gravity. Well, you got half of it right. Before that, it had a pretty good track record with Little Miss Sunshine being one of the few incorrect ones. There was a stretch there in between, sorry. Because if you actually go back before that, they got 3 years in a row they got it wrong. Aviator, nope. Brokeback Mountain, nope. Little Miss Sunshine, nope. So it was wrong for 3 years there. And then it was on a pretty good run there. If you exclude the tie for Gravity, it got Best Picture right the next 10 years. Like, that's how well it did. King's Speech, Hurt Locker, Slumdog, Argo, Artist, 12 Years a Slave, Birdman. It went almost a decade. Almost a decade it went on a good tie right there. So, yeah, they're not the best predictors, but usually they got a pretty good pulse on it. So, yeah. But, yeah, I don't expect Oppenheimer to lose. I don't expect Oppenheimer to lose tomorrow night. It'll be more interesting, though, to see what they do for animated feature, because they did get Toy Story 4 correct over Klaus, even though Klaus won at BAFTA and the Annies. Let's see here. Otherwise, I'm going to look here. Because, yeah, the animated feature one at the Oscars, that's given me a little bit of a stomachache trying to figure out who's going to win that one, whether it will be Boy and the Heron or if they will go with Spider-Man there. But boy, I don't know if PGA is necessarily going to lean me one way or the other, because you got the Annie Award went to Spider-Man, BAFTA and Globe went with Boy and the Heron. Critics' Choice went with Spider-Man, so it's pretty 50-50 just by those precursors and stuff. And one other thing, though, we did, the Visual Effects Guild, they went heavy on the creator. So that gave me a little more confidence in the creator picking that for visual effects over Godzilla. Again, though, if we look at it, Godzilla, I don't think did spectacularly well at the Guild. I'd have to look here, because I've just got Gold Derby pulled up for, like, the, who I was predicting and stuff. But Godzilla wasn't nominated for effects-driven film, and I don't know... Visual Effects Society... Okay, I'll try to find a little bit more detail here, see if I can find a better... well, let's see, that's going to be from last year. Here's 2023. I'll just do a search here. Godzilla. Okay, it did get... it didn't do very well at the Guild here. It got 1. One nomination for Outstanding Animated Character in a Photoreal Feature, and it lost to Guardians of the Galaxy. The creator, on the other hand, won for outstanding visual, support, basically, outstanding visual effects. In other words, effects-driven film. Those kind of go hand in hand. It won for created environment in a photoreal film, effects simulations in a photoreal feature, composition and lighting in a feature, model in a photoreal or animated project. So it did pretty well. Yeah, and actually, if we look at it, I'm not seeing it in a category. It wasn't nominated in any categories where it didn't win, outside of just one here, which is virtual cinematography in a CG project. It lost to Guardians. So it seems like the creator, did pretty well here. And for its credit, Spider-Man won here. But again, you didn't have Boy in the Heron nominated, I don't think, anywhere here. And it might not have been eligible just because of its drawing style and stuff. But even that being said, the creator, that doing very well there at the guilds. That was that really boosted my confidence in keeping that one, because I was kind of like, okay, I might switch to Godzilla, but I'm not really 100% sure. Anyways, sorry, I kind of left off there, but for Holdovers versus Green Book, Holdovers probably going to lose PGA tomorrow. Green Book won. As I recall, both, in this case, everybody, it matches. Holdovers, did get a DGA nomination, lost, as I think we all knew, Alfonso Cuarón was going to win that year. Then BAFTA only gave it the one supporting award. They did give it casting this year. Holdovers won that, and it won for Divine Joy Randolph. So it's, again, maybe get a point back for that, maybe. But, you could argue, well, in 2018, I don't think they had the casting. Did they have the casting category yet, even? I don't know. I'm not going to look it up. So I don't recall it being nominated there. So I don't think it was going to win that. But anyways. I think it was just really the love for the movie here that helped push it over the edge. And then at SAG, we saw the same thing there. Mahershala, he was rubber stamped that year. He was going to win supporting actor, so he won there, and Divine won here. So you could argue, okay, they're on the same track here, but I don't know. I get the comparisons, and I get people, still on that limb saying it could happen or predicting it will happen. I'm not there. I'm not on board. So, okay. All right. I felt like I went on a little longer than I was planning on, but I don't think we'll come back and just talk PGA unless there's a significant upset. If we see something else win other than Oppenheimer, then we might jump on here tomorrow and talk about it and say, okay, what does this mean for Best Picture? Does the whole race all of a sudden become in flux? And stuff like that. So there we go. All right. That's all I got for now. So we'll be back sometime.